The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Friedrich Nietzsche. The year is 1889. You stand in a dimly lit courtroom in Basel. The air is thick with the scent of damp wood and human judgment. Outside, rain lashes against the windows like an impatient mob. Inside, the silence is heavier than the gavel that will soon fall. A man sits alone at the defendant's bench, not a criminal in chains, but a philosopher in exile. His crime, not theft, not treason, but thinking too far beyond the comfort of his peers. His words have been called dangerous, arrogant, even insane. The faces in the crowd are not here to understand him, they are here to see him humbled. You feel it in your chest, the primal fear of being surrounded by those who will never see the world as you do. The kind of fear that makes most people shrink, explain, apologize. But not him. Carl Jung says, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Yet here, that privilege feels like a death sentence. This is where the question begins to burn. When the minds around you are too small to grasp your vision, do you lower your voice, or let it roar until it shatters their walls? This is Legend's legacy, where history's fiercest minds are brought face to face, their ideas colliding like storms over an unyielding sea. Today, you will walk between two towering figures, Nietzsche, the uncompromising prophet of self-overcoming, and John Stuart Mill, the measured architect of liberty. Whose path will you take? Tell us in the comments, and if you crave more journeys into the minds that shape the world, subscribe and step deeper into the legacy. It is difficult to free fools from the chains they revere. Voltaire. You felt it before, the tightening in your chest when you speak a truth that doesn't fit the room. Eyes narrow. Smiles turn brittle. The air shifts, not because you've been cruel, but because you've stepped outside the invisible fence of their understanding. In the dim courtroom of our opening scene, that same invisible fence is everywhere. It's in the way the jurors lean back, arms crossed, as if protecting themselves from an infection. It's in the way whispers ripple through the benches like a slow, poisonous tide. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance, the mind's instinct to reject what threatens its existing beliefs. But in the realm of history, it has another name, the executioner of visionaries. Socrates drank the hemlock. Galileo faced the Inquisition. And countless others were not destroyed by the falsity of their ideas, but by the smallness of the minds that judged them. John Stuart Mill understood this danger. In On Liberty, he warned that silencing an opinion is robbing the human race. Yet Mill also believed in the moral duty to explain, to meet ignorance with reason, to bridge the gap rather than burn it. Nietzsche, on the other hand, saw explanation as a concession to the herd. To him, bending your truth to fit their frame was the first step towards self-betrayal. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, he wrote. And so the tension sharpens. Do you waste your breath on those who will not hear, or do you walk away, letting your silence speak as a blade? This is the battlefield we now enter, where Mill's bridge and Nietzsche's fortress stand in the same storm. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. Friedrich Nietzsche. You stand on a windswept ridge in the Swiss Alps. The air is thin, biting, alive with the kind of silence that makes your thoughts louder. Below, the valleys are dotted with villages, safe, orderly, content. Up here, the world feels raw, untamed, dangerous. This is where Nietzsche's philosophy breathes. He believed that life's highest peaks are reached only by those willing to climb alone, to endure the cold winds of isolation rather than descend into the warm mediocrity of the herd. To Nietzsche, explaining yourself to small minds was not just a waste, it was a corruption. Every word bent to their comfort was a chisel against your own foundation. He saw the herd, as a force that drags the exceptional down, not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of what they cannot match. Fear of what exposes their own complacency. And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. Nietzsche again, cutting to the bone. In his eyes, the act of living unapologetically, without seeking validation, was the purest form of strength. The Übermensch, his ideal, was not a man who explained himself, but one who embodied his truth so fully that explanation became irrelevant. But here lies the danger. Nietzsche's fire can burn bridges so completely that no path back remains. His defiance is intoxicating, but it is also lonely. The higher you climb, the fewer voices you hear, until only your own remains. And yet, perhaps that is the point. Next, we descend into Mill's compass, a philosophy that does not reject the crowd outright, but seeks to guide it toward the light. Genuine justice blends mercy with truth. John Stuart Mill. The scene shifts. You are no longer on a mountain peak, but in a quiet London study in the mid-19th century. The rain here is softer, tapping against tall windows. The air smells faintly of ink and old leather. Books line the walls like sentinels of reason. At the desk sits John Stuart Mill, calm, deliberate, his pen moving with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Mill's world was not one of isolation, but of engagement. He believed that truth was not a fortress to be guarded in silence, but a flame to be carried into the public square. To him, the act of explaining oneself was not weakness, it was a moral responsibility, provided the audience was willing to listen in good faith. In On Liberty, he warns that silencing an opinion, even a wrong one, is an assault on human progress. Every voice, he argued, contains a fragment of the larger truth, and only through open exchange can those fragments be assembled into something whole. But Mill was no naive idealist. He knew the crowd could be cruel, that public opinion could become a tyrant as oppressive as any king. His compass pointed toward dialogue, but it was a dialogue with boundaries, reasoned, respectful, and purposeful. Where Nietzsche would turn his back on the herd, Mill would step forward, not to bow, but to challenge. His weapon was not the sword of defiance, but the scalpel of reason, cutting away ignorance without severing the possibility of understanding. And so the question deepens: is it nobler to guard your truth in silence, or to risk it in the marketplace of ideas? Next, we enter the collision, where these two visions meet head-on and sparks fly. He who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that. John Stuart Mill. The air is electric. You stand in a vast marble hall, not a courtroom, not a lecture hall, but something older, almost mythic. Two figures approach from opposite ends. On one side, Nietzsche, eyes burning like coals, his steps sharp, deliberate, unyielding. On the other, Mill, calm but unshakable, his gaze steady, his presence like a lighthouse in a storm. They stop a few paces apart. The silence between them is not empty, it is charged, like the moment before steel meets steel. Nietzsche speaks first, his voice low but cutting. To explain yourself to those who cannot rise to your height is to descend into their pit. His words echo like a challenge, daring Mill to step closer. Mill does. His reply is measured, but it carries weight. And yet, if you never descend, how will they ever see the mountain? Here, the philosophies clash, not in rage, but in the deep, grinding friction of two truths that cannot fully merge. Nietzsche's fortress stands for the sanctity of the self, for the refusal to dilute one's vision to appease the crowd. Mill's bridge stands for the duty to engage, to risk misunderstanding in the hope of planting seeds that may one day grow. The hall trembles, not from their voices, but from the realization that both are right, and both are incomplete. You feel it in your bones, the pull toward the purity of silence, and the equally strong pull toward the courage of dialogue. This is the crucible of choice. And in the next step, we will walk into the choice, where the question is no longer theirs, but yours. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Confucius. The marble hall is empty now. The echoes of Nietzsche's defiance and Mill's reason still hang in the air like smoke after a battle. You stand alone in the center, the weight of their words pressing against your chest. Outside, the world waits. Some will misunderstand you. Some will mock you. Some will twist your meaning until it no longer resembles the truth you spoke. And here, in this moment, you face the same choice that has haunted thinkers, leaders, and dreamers for centuries. Do you guard your truth in silence, letting your life itself be the only explanation? Or do you step into the arena of words, risking distortion for the chance, however slim, that one mind might awaken? Nietzsche whispers from the shadows, "Become who you are, and let the deaf remain deaf." His voice is a flame, urging you to protect the sanctity of your vision at all costs. Mill's voice follows, steady as a heartbeat. "If you do not speak, the lie will speak for you." His words are a bridge, reminding you that even the smallest seed of truth can grow in unexpected soil. There is no verdict here, no gavel to fall. Only the quiet knowledge that whichever path you choose will shape not just your legacy, but the way you carry yourself through every room, every conversation, every silence. This is Legend's legacy, where the past does not give you answers, only sharper questions. So now, it's your turn. Which path calls to you? Nietzsche's fortress or Mill's bridge? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you hunger for more journeys into the minds that shape the world, subscribe and walk with us into the next storm.